respected. Have you ever wondered why some women stay in a man's heart long after they've walked away? Why he dates other people, tries to move on, tells himself it's over, yet somehow finds himself thinking about her in the quiet moments of his life? The answer is not beauty. It is not luck. It is not even love alone. Sometimes the woman a man always returns to is the one who carried herself in a way he could never forget. There is a story I want to share with you today. A story that may change the way you see relationships forever. Years ago, a young woman named Sarah met a man named Daniel. Like many modern couples, their relationship began with excitement, endless conversations, late night messages, dreams about the future. Every moment felt magical. Sarah believed she had found her forever person. And for a while, Daniel felt the same. But as time passed, something started changing. Not because Sarah was not beautiful enough, not because she was not caring enough, not because she lacked love. The problem was that Sarah slowly made Daniel the center of her entire world. She stopped investing in herself. She stopped chasing her goals. She stopped spending time with friends. Her happiness became dependent on his attention. And when a person makes someone else responsible for their happiness, pressure begins to grow. Daniel started feeling something he could not explain. The more Sarah chased him, the more distant he became. The more she tried to hold on, the more he wanted space. Eventually, the relationship ended. Sarah was devastated. She cried for weeks. She replayed every conversation in her mind. She searched for answers. She wondered what she had done wrong. Maybe you've been there too. Maybe you stared at your phone, hoping for a message. Maybe you've questioned your worth because someone walked away. Maybe you've convinced yourself that if you had only been better, prettier, smarter, calmer, everything would have worked out. But life has a way of teaching lessons through pain. And Sarah was about to learn one of the most powerful lessons of her life. After months of heartbreak, she made a decision that would change everything. Instead of chasing Daniel, she started rebuilding herself. She joined a fitness class. She returned to old hobbies she had abandoned. She started reading books again. She traveled. She laughed more. She spent time with people who genuinely cared about her. Slowly, something remarkable happened. Her confidence returned. Not the confidence that comes from compliments. The confidence that comes from knowing who you are. And when that confidence returned, Sarah stopped looking for Daniel. She stopped checking his social media. She stopped wondering what he was doing. She stopped waiting. Because for the first time in a long time, she was focused on her own life. And that is when the unexpected happened. One afternoon, her phone rang. It was Daniel, the same man who had disappeared, the same man who once needed space, the same man who seemed certain he wanted to leave. Now he was back, wanting to talk, wanting to reconnect, wanting another chance. Why? Because people often fail to appreciate something when it becomes too available. Human nature is strange. Sometimes distance creates clarity. Sometimes absence reveals value. And sometimes a person must lose access to your energy before they understand how much that energy meant to them. Now listen carefully. This is not about playing games. This is not about manipulation. This is not about pretending not to care. Real strength comes from genuinely caring about yourself enough that your life continues whether someone stays or leaves. The woman men often return to is not the one who begged them to stay. It is the one who remained true to herself. The one who refused to abandon her dignity. The one who kept growing. The one who understood that her value did not depend on another person's decision. You see, confidence is magnetic, not arrogance, not pride, confidence. The quiet belief that says, I will be okay no matter what happens. And there is something about that energy that people remember. Because most people live in fear of rejection, fear of loneliness, fear of abandonment. But when someone meets a person who stands firmly in their own worth, that memory stays with them. Years ago, I met a gentleman who shared a story after being married for more than 30 years. He told me about a woman he dated before meeting his wife. He said they broke up because he thought he could find something better. He was young, immature, certain that the world had endless options. So he left. Months turned into years. Years turned into decades. Yet he admitted something surprising. He never forgot her, not because she was perfect, not because she was wealthy, not because she looked like a movie star. He never forgot her because she respected herself. When he left, she didn't beg. She didn't argue. She didn't try to convince him. She simply wished him well and continued living her life. And that moment haunted him for years. Not because she chased him, because she didn't. That kind of strength leaves an impression, because deep down people admire what they cannot control. Think about a mountain. The mountain does not chase anyone. It stands strong, steady, unshaken. And because of that, people travel thousands of miles just to see it. There is a lesson hidden there. Your power increases when your life has purpose beyond a relationship. Too many people believe love means losing themselves. But healthy love is not two halves completing each other. Healthy love is two complete people choosing each other. And when you become complete within yourself, everything changes. Your conversations change. Your energy changes. Your standards change. Your decisions change. Most importantly, the way people treat you changes, because people often follow the example you set. If you treat yourself like an option, others will too. If you treat yourself like someone valuable, others notice. Sarah eventually learned this lesson. Months after Daniel returned, they sat together at a small cafe. He looked at her differently, not because she changed her appearance, not because she suddenly became someone else. He looked at her differently because she had become stronger, more grounded, more secure. And he confessed something that surprised her. He said, "When I left, I thought I'd feel free, but the farther I got from you, the more I realized what I lost." Those words meant something, but not for the reason you might think. Years earlier, Sarah would have heard those words and felt validated. Now she heard them and simply smiled, because she no longer needed his approval to know her worth. That is true growth. When someone returns, it feels different when you have along with. You already found yourself, because now you are choosing from strength instead of desperation. And that's the secret most people never learn. The goal is not getting someone back. The goal is becoming the kind of person who remains whole even if they never return. Ironically, that is often the very thing that makes people come back, because confidence attracts, purpose attracts, self-respect attracts, growth attracts. People remember how they felt around you. And when your presence brought peace, inspiration, warmth, and authenticity, those memories become difficult to replace. Life has a way of revealing what truly matters. Many people spend years searching for someone extraordinary while overlooking the extraordinary person they already had. And when reality teaches them that lesson, they often try to return. But by then, something important has changed. The woman they left is no longer waiting where they left her. She has grown, she has evolved, she has discovered her own WN strength. And whether she chooses to welcome them back or continue her journey alone becomes entirely her decision. That is power. Not the power to control someone, the power to control yourself. And when you learn that lesson, your entire life changes. The truth is, most people misunderstand why someone returns. They think it happens because of a perfectly timed message, a clever strategy, a social media post designed to make someone jealous. But the deepest returns rarely happen because of tactics. They happen because of transformation. And to understand this, I want to tell you another story, a story about a woman named Emily. Emily had spent nearly 5 years with a man named Michael, 5 years of memories, 5 years of dreams, 5 years of building a future together. Everyone around them believed they would get married, including Emily. Then one ordinary afternoon, everything changed. Michael sat across from her and said words she never expected to hear. "I think I need to find myself." It was one of those phrases people use when they no longer know how to explain what's happening inside them. Emily felt as if the ground disappeared beneath her feet. One moment she was planning a future. The next she was questioning everything. For months she struggled. She couldn't understand how someone could spend years loving you and then suddenly walk away. Every morning felt heavy, every night felt lonely, and every memory felt painful. One evening, while sitting alone in her apartment, she looked at an old photograph. It showed her smiling on a hiking trail years earlier, before Michael, before the relationship, before she had started defining herself through someone else. And as she stared at that picture, she realized something. The woman in that photograph was alive, passionate, adventurous, fearless. Somewhere along the journey, she had disappeared, not because Michael took her away, because she slowly stopped choosing herself. That realization changed everything. From that day forward, Emily made a promise not to get Michael back, to get herself back. And that's where real transformation begins. Not when you're trying to win someone over, when you're trying to reconnect with your own soul. She started doing things that scared her. She signed up for public speaking classes. She volunteered at local events. She learned new skills. She built friendships she had neglected. She became interested in life again. And here's what nobody tells you. Healing is attractive, not because it makes someone jealous, because it creates energy. People can feel when someone is alive inside. They can feel when someone walks into a room carrying purpose instead of pain. Months passed, then one day Emily received a message. Michael, the man who once wanted distance, the man who walked away. The message was simple. I've been thinking about you. She stared at the screen for a long time. Not B, because she was excited, because she was surprised by her own reaction. For the first time, his message did not control her emotions. For the first time, she realized her happiness no longer depended on him. That is one of the most powerful moments a human being can experience. The moment you stop needing what you once thought you couldn't live without. Now understand something important. Men often return when they realize the woman they left wasn't ordinary, but they usually don't realize it immediately. Life has a way of teaching difficult lessons. Sometimes people leave because they think something better exists. Then reality shows them that connection is rare, loyalty is rare, peace is rare, authenticity is rare. And once they experience enough disappointment, they start remembering the person who gave them those things naturally. I once heard a businessman tell a story about his biggest regret. He said he spent years chasing success, bigger opportunities, more mind, more recognition. And during that pursuit, he lost a woman who truly loved him. At the time, he believed she would always be there. That's a dangerous assumption, because human beings often fail to appreciate what feels permanent. When something becomes part of our everyday lives, we stop noticing its value. We stop noticing the smile, the support, the kindness, the loyalty, the consistency, until it's gone. Then suddenly we see clearly. Years later, after achieving everything he thought he wanted, that businessman admitted something heartbreaking. The person he missed most wasn't the woman who challenged his ego. It wasn't the woman who created drama. It wasn't the woman who made life complicated. It was the woman who brought peace. That word matters. Peace. Because deep down, many men spend their lives searching for peace. The world is competitive, demanding, stressful. Every day brings pressure, expectations, responsibilities. And when a man finds S, someone who makes life feel lighter rather than heavier, that experience becomes unforgettable. The problem is that people often recognize peace only after they lose it. That's why some men return. Not because they suddenly changed overnight, because experience taught them what truly matters. Now let me tell you something that may surprise you. The women men remember most are not always the most beautiful. They're not always the wealthiest. They're not always the most successful. The women men remember most are usually the ones who made them feel something genuine, a feeling they struggle to find anywhere else. Think about your favorite song. There are technically better songs, more complex songs, more popular songs. Yet something about that particular song touches your heart. Relationships work the same way. People remember feelings. And when your presence creates a feeling of authenticity, encouragement, and emotional safety, that memory lasts. Even after years have passed, even after countless distractions, even after new relationships, because what touches the heart leaves fingerprints on the soul. Emily eventually met Michael for coffee. He admitted he had made mistakes. He admitted he had taken her for granted. He admitted he never expected her absence to affect him so deeply. As he spoke, Emily listened carefully. Years earlier, she would have interrupted. She would have searched desperately for reassurance. Now she simply listened. Because confidence creates calmness, and calmness creates power. The strongest person in the room is often the one who doesn't need to prove anything. That day, Michael asked a question. "What changed about you?" Emily smiled, and her answer contained a lesson every person should remember. She said, "I stopped waiting for someone else to choose me. I chose myself." Those words hit him harder than any argument ever could. Because confidence built through self-respect cannot be ignored. The reality is that people are drawn toward those who have a healthy relationship with themselves. When you love your life, others feel it. When you value your time, others respect it. When you know your worth, others recognize it. Not always immediately, but eventually, because human beings are naturally attracted to strength, not harshness, not coldness. Strength, and true strength is quiet. It doesn't beg, it doesn't chase, doesn't force. It simply exists, like the sun. The sun doesn't ask anyone to notice it. It shines because that's what it was created to do. The same is true for you. Your purpose is not to convince someone to stay. Your purpose is to become the best version of yourself. And here's the beautiful irony. When you focus on becoming your best self, people often begin to see your value more clearly, including those who once walked away. But remember this, the objective isn't their return. The objective is your growth, because growth benefits you, regardless of what anyone else decides. And when growth becomes your priority, something remarkable happens. You stop operating from fear. You stop making decisions based on loneliness. You stop settling for less than you deserve. You begin living from a place of confidence rather than scarcity. And that shift changes everything. Relationships, friendships, opportunities, even the way you see yourself. The woman men often return to is not the woman who spent years waiting by the door. It's the woman who kept walking toward her future. The woman who kept growing. The woman who transformed pain into wisdom. The woman who refused to let heartbreak define her. Because while some people use pain as an excuse to stop living, extraordinary people use pain as fuel to become stronger. And when someone witnesses that kind of transformation, they rarely forget it. That's why so many people return to those they once underestimated. Not because time stood still, because the son they left behind became impossible to ignore. There is another truth that few people are willing to talk about. Sometimes a man leaves not because he has stopped caring. Sometimes he leaves because he becomes confused. Confused about what he wants. Confused about who he is. Confused about what truly matters. And life has a strange way of clearing up confusion. Not through advice, not through arguments, through experience. A man can ignore your value while you're standing right in front of him, yet suddenly understand your value when you're no longer there. That is one of the painful realities of human nature. People often learn through loss what they refuse to learn through gratitude. I remember hearing a story about an elderly man who had been married for over 40 years. One day someone asked him what the secret to a lasting relationship was. His answer surprised everyone. He didn't talk about romance. He didn't talk about compatibility. He didn't talk about attraction. Instead, he said something simple. I married a woman who never forgot who she was. Think about that. Out of 4 decades of marriage, that was the quality he admired most. Not because she was perfect, because she remained herself, she supported him without losing herself, loved him without abandoning herself, believed in him without forgetting her own dreams. That balance is rare. Many people enter relationships and slowly disappear. Their goals become smaller, their identity becomes weaker, their confidence becomes dependent on someone else's approval. And without realizing it, they hand over the keys to their happiness. But healthy love was never meant to work that way. Love should add to your life, not replace it. The women men often return to understand this principle deeply. They know how to love, but they also know how to live. Their entire existence does not revolve around another person's attention. And because of that, their absence feels so significant when they're gone. Imagine two houses standing side by side. One house has no foundation. The slightest storm causes damage. The other house stands on solid ground. Wind comes, rain comes, challenges come, yet it remains standing. Which house would you trust? The same principle applies to people. Emotional stability creates trust, and trust creates attraction that lasts beyond appearances. One day, a young woman named Olivia learned this lesson the hard way. Olivia had always believed that being available every second would make her relationship stronger. Whenever her boyfriend called, she answered immediately. Whenever he needed something, she rushed to help. Whenever he changed plans, she adjusted her life around him. At first, she thought this behavior proved her love. But over time, something unexpected happened. The more she sacrificed her own priorities, the less appreciated she felt. One evening after another canceled date, she sat alone and asked D herself a difficult question. Why am I treating someone else like the main character in my life? That question changed everything. Because growth often begins with uncomfortable honesty. Olivia realized she had been teaching people how to treat her, not through words, through behavior. She had unintentionally communicated that her needs came second, her dreams came second, her happiness came second. And people usually believe the story you tell them about yourself. If you constantly act like your life is less important than theirs, eventually they stop believing it. So Olivia made changes. Small changes at first, then bigger ones. She respected her own schedule, protected her peace, invested in her goals, created boundaries, not walls, boundaries. There is a difference. Walls keep everyone out. Boundaries teach people how to come in respectfully. And as Olivia changed, something fascinating happened. The same man who once took her presence for granted suddenly became more attentive, more interested, more invested. Why? Because people naturally value things that have value. And when you value yourself, you signal to the world that your time, energy, and attention matter. Now let me share something that many people overlook. One reason men return is because they remember how you made them feel about themselves. This is important. Everyone talks about attraction. Few people talk about inspiration. The people we remember most are often the ones who inspired us, the ones who believed in us during difficult seasons, the ones who encouraged us when we doubted ourselves, the ones who saw potential before anyone else did. Years ago, there was a teacher who changed a young boy's life. The boy struggled in school. His grades were poor. His confidence was lower. Most people expected very little from him, but one teacher saw something different. She looked at him and said, "I believe you're capable of more." Just one sentence, one moment, yet decades later, after becoming successful, he still remembered her. Why? Because belief is powerful. People never forget those who genuinely believed in them. Relationships work the same way. When you inspire someone to become better, that impact stays with them. Long after conversations end, long after circumstances change, long after distance separates you. Now be careful. There is a difference between inspiring someone and trying to save them. Too many people fall into the trap of becoming rescuers. They believe if they love someone enough, they can fix them, change them, heal them. But real growth must come from within. You cannot carry someone into a better future. They must choose it themselves. The woman men return to is often not the woman who tried to rescue them. It's the woman who inspired them while still respecting herself. The woman who encouraged growth without sacrificing her own growth. The woman who offered love without surrendering. Her identity, that combination is unforgettable. One evening, years after their breakup, Olivia received a message. Her former boyfriend wanted to meet. Curiosity led her to accept. As they sat across from each other, he admitted something surprising. He said, after we separated, I kept comparing every relationship to what we had. Olivia asked why. His answer revealed a truth many people never understand. He said, because you always had your own life. You cared about me, but you never lost yourself. At the time, he hadn't appreciated that quality. Now he recognized how rare it was. That happens more often than people realize. Sometimes people leave searching for excitement, then discover that excitement without depth becomes exhausting. Sometimes they leave searching for perfection, then discover perfection doesn't exist. Sometimes they leave believing grass is greener elsewhere, then discover grass becomes greener where it's watered. Experience is a powerful teacher, and often experience leads people back to the lessons they ignored. But here's the most important part of all. Whether someone returns or not should never determine your happiness, because your story is bigger than any single relationship. Your future is bigger than any heartbreak. Your purpose is bigger than any rejection. Too many people spend years waiting for closure, waiting for an apology, waiting for someone to come back. Meanwhile, life keeps moving. Opportunities keep appearing. Dreams keep calling. Growth keeps inviting them forward. The strongest individuals eventually realize something profound. Closure is not always something another person gives you. Sometimes closure is something you create by accepting what happened, learning from it, growing through it, and continuing your journey. That kind of strength changes your energy completely. You stop radiating desperation. You start radiating confidence. And confidence has a remarkable effect on people. It makes them notice what they previously overlooked. It makes them recognize value they once ignored. It makes them question decisions they once felt certain about, which is why so many men return after a woman has truly moved forward. Not because she waited, because she didn't. Not because she stopped living, because she started living fully. Not because she needed him, because she discovered she could thrive without him. And there is something incredibly powerful about a person who chooses happiness rather than waiting for it. Because when someone learns to create joy from within, they become unforgettable. The world is filled with people seeking validation. Very few people carry genuine self-respect. And when someone encounters that rare combination of kindness, confidence, purpose, and peace, they often remember it long after it's gone. That's when they begin to understand what they lost. And sometimes that's when they try to return. By the time most people understand the true value of a person, life has already taught them a few difficult lessons. That is why so many returns happen late, not weeks later, not months later, sometimes years later. Because wisdom often arrives after experience has humbled us. A young man once asked an older gentleman a question. He said, "Why do people leave good relationships?" The older man smiled and replied, "Because many people don't know what they have until life shows them what they don't." At first, the answer sounded simple, but hidden inside those words was a truth powerful enough to change the way you see relationships forever. Human beings are natural explorers. We constantly wonder if something better exists somewhere else, a better opportunity, a better job, a better city, a better relationship. And sometimes that curiosity convinces people to walk away from something valuable. Only later do they discover that what they were searching for was already in front of them. Life has a remarkable way of revealing this lesson, not through comfort, through contrast. When someone experiences enough disappointment, enough confusion, enough empty connections, they begin remembering the person who brought authenticity into their life. And authenticity is becoming increasingly rare. Today, people know how to impress, but very few know how to connect. People know how to attract attention, but very few know how to build trust. People know how to create excitement, but very few know how to create peace. That is why genuine people leave such a lasting impact. A woman named Grace understood this lesson better than most. Years earlier, she had fallen deeply in love. The relationship felt promising. The future seemed clear. Then suddenly, without warning, everything fell apart. The man she loved decided he wanted something different. Grace was heartbroken. Like many people facing rejection, she initially questioned herself. Was she enough? Was she attractive enough? Interesting enough? Successful enough, she searched for answers everywhere. But eventually she discovers something important. The wrong questions create the wrong focus. Instead of asking, why wasn't I enough? She began asking, how can I become the best version of myself? That shift changed her life. Because one question creates insecurity, the other creates growth. And growth always leads somewhere better. Grace spent the following years building a life she genuinely loved. She pursued passions she had postponed, started projects she had been afraid to begin, learned skills she had always wanted to learn, expanded her world, strengthened her confidence. Most importantly, she stopped measuring her worth through someone else's choices. Years later, something unexpected happened. The man who left came back. Not because she asked him to, not because she convinced him, not because she waited. He came back because life had changed him. Experience. See had changed him. Perspective had changed him. And suddenly he saw what he could not see before. But what happened next contains the biggest lesson of this entire story. When he returned, Grace was no longer the same woman he left. Not because she became colder, because she became stronger. She listened to him respectfully. She appreciated his honesty. But she no longer viewed his return as the solution to her happiness. Because during those years apart, she had discovered something priceless. Her happiness belonged to her, not to anyone else. That realization is freedom. Many people spend their entire lives chasing approval, chasing validation, chasing acceptance. But true confidence begins when you stop asking the world for permission to value yourself. And once you reach that place, everything changes. Your relationships become healthier. Your decisions become wiser. Your standards become stronger. Your life becomes more peaceful. That is why the women men owe often return to share a common quality. They possess self-respect, not arrogance, not superiority, self-respect. They understand their value without needing constant reminders. They understand their worth without demanding constant reassurance. And because of that, they create an energy people remember. Think about the most inspiring person you've ever met. Maybe it was a teacher, a parent, a mentor, a friend. What made them unforgettable? Chances are it wasn't perfection. It was presence, character, integrity, authenticity. Those qualities never go out of style. Beauty changes, circumstances change, life changes, character remains. And character is often what people miss most after someone is gone. I once heard a successful entrepreneur describe the biggest mistake of his younger years. He said he spent too much time looking for perfection and not enough time appreciating loyalty. That sentence contains wisdom many people learn too late, because loyalty can. OTB bought. Trust cannot be forced. Authenticity cannot be manufactured. These qualities are gifts. And when someone loses access to them, they often realize their importance for the first time. That's why some men return, not because they suddenly became different overnight, because life taught them lessons they were unwilling to learn before. But remember this carefully. The purpose of your life is not to become unforgettable to someone else. The purpose of your life is to become unforgettable to yourself, to build a life you are proud of, a life that reflects your values, your dreams, your potential, your purpose. If someone returns along the way, that is their journey. Your responsibility is your own growth. And there is something beautiful about reaching a point where your happiness no longer depends on who stays and who leaves, because life becomes lighter. You stop carrying the burden of trying to control outcomes. You stop exhausting yourself seeking volley, Dacian. You stop chasing people who aren't ready to appreciate your value. Instead, you focus on becoming the kind of person who wakes up each morning with purpose, the kind of person who continues moving forward despite setbacks, the kind of person who transforms pain into wisdom, disappointment into strength, heartbreak into growth. That transformation is powerful, and people notice it, not because you tell them, because they feel it. Energy speaks louder than words. Confidence speaks louder than words. Peace speaks louder than words. A person who has found peace within themselves becomes incredibly difficult to forget, because most people are still searching for what that person already possesses. That is why men often return to women who carry themselves with dignity, women who continue growing after heartbreak, women who choose self-respect over desperation, women who understand that love is important but identity is essential, women who know that losing a relationship should never mean losing themselves. The irony is that the moment you truly understand this lesson is often the moment you stop worrying about whether someone will come back, because your focus shifts. You become more interested in your future than your past, more interested in your purpose than your pain, more interested in becoming than waiting. And that is where real power lives. Not in making someone miss you, not in making someone regret losing you, but in becoming someone who is fully alive regardless of what anyone else chooses. Because when you build that kind of life, you win either way. If they return, you have the wisdom to decide whether they deserve a place in your future. And if they never return, you still have a life filled with growth, meaning, confidence, and purpose. That is the secret most people spend years trying to discover. The women men always remember are not necessarily the women who tried the hardest to keep them. They are the women who refused to abandon themselves, the women who kept growing, the women who kept believing, the women who kept moving forward, the women who understood that their worth was never determined by someone else's ability to recognize it. And when life eventually teaches people what they lost, those are often the women they find themselves thinking about. Those are often the women they wish they had appreciated sooner. Those are often the women they try to return to. Because strength leaves a memory, character leaves a memory, self-respect leaves a memory. And a person who learns to stand confidently in their own value becomes someone the world rarely forgets. And so, before we end this journey together, I want you to remember one thing. This message was never really about getting someone back. It was never about making a man regret leaving. It was never about learning a secret formula that guarantees someone's return. The deeper lesson is far more important than that. Your gift. The greatest power has never been your ability to hold on to someone. Your greatest power is your ability to remain true to yourself, even when life breaks your heart. Because the truth is, people will come and go. Some will stay for a season. Some will stay for a lifetime. Some will leave lessons behind. Others will leave memories behind. But through it all, the one person who must never abandon you is you. Never lose yourself trying to keep someone else. Never sacrifice your dignity for temporary attention. Never lower your value because someone failed to recognize it. A diamond does not become worthless because someone walks past it without noticing. Its value remains the same, and so does yours. If a man returns, let it be because he discovered your worth, not because you chased him into seeing it. If he returns, let him find a stronger version of you, a wiser version, a happier version, a version that built a beautiful life regardless of his presence. And if he never returns, keep walking anyway, keep growing anyway, keep dreaming anyway, keep becoming the person you were created to be, because your future is too important to be held hostage by your past. One day you'll look back at the heartbreak that once kept you awake at night, the rejection that once made you question yourself, the goodbye that once felt unbearable, and you'll realize it was not the end of your story. It was the beginning of your transformation. You will realize that every painful moment pushed you toward greater strength, greater wisdom, greater confidence, and greater self-respect. That is the real victory. Not that someone came back, but that you found yourself. Because when a person truly discovers their worth, they stop begging for love and start attracting it. They stop chasing validation and start living with purpose. They stop fearing loss and start embracing growth. So from this day forward, choose yourself, invest in yourself, believe in yourself, LF, respect yourself. Build a life so meaningful, so fulfilling, and so rich with purpose that your happiness no longer depends on who stays and who leaves. And remember this powerful truth. The people who are meant to be part of your journey will recognize your value. The people who don't may walk away. But never allow someone else's decision to determine your self-worth. stand tall, keep growing, keep moving forward. Because the most attractive thing about any human being is not beauty, status, or popularity. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing exactly who they are. And when you carry that confidence, you become unforgettable. Not because you made someone stay, but because you learn how to stand strong, love yourself, and keep shining no matter what. And that, more than anything else, is why the right people always find their way back to the light. If this message touched your heart, take a moment to reflect on your own journey, the next chapter of your life is still being written, and the best pages may be the ones that haven't happened yet. Keep believing, keep growing, and never forget your